you guys, I'm back with another video. It kind of dawned on me. I'm over here at my retention pond that I was at for the majority of the summer doing my recordings. Well, let me just tell you the information that's clicked. Do you know a narcissistic empath? Slow motion this side. No. We're not doing that. But just check it out, right? A lot of people have encountered narcissists as children with narcissistic parents, siblings, family members, people in authority, friendships, and later on in relationships. And these are typically people that we trust, right? Now, when I say narcissistic empath, that's because all that it took for you to break out of the hold that the narcissist had on you. Now, I'm not talking about women who had their ass beat in a relationship, or even, I can, for the general purpose of this video, I want to say that it's not okay to get your ass beat by anybody, not a sibling, not a parent. Abuse is abuse, whether it's verbal, psychological, emotional, physical, sexual. You know, we have all different types of abuse, verbal abuse. But the point I'm trying to make is, after we've found after we found the strength to, it's really gonna bother me. It's that Virgo shit. After we found the strength to get away, to put distance between us and that person, we start to regain our confidence and get back on the right track and on an even keel. And spoke it. So anyway, it's very easy to become empowered and to have that strength and that courage and that determination. And sometimes when you're faced with issues, the ego, because in building courage, the ego is both positive and negative. It depends on how it's used. You don't kill your ego. When you have an ego death, you kill the exaggeration of the ego and the excessiveness of the ego. For those who are familiar with the tarot, that's the devil. That is the ego. That is excessive. Okay? That's the example. Whereas courage, the courage card would show an ego that is compassionate. That even though I am strength, I am strong and I'm overcoming the situation, this beast, this battle, I'm doing so with compassion, but I am more powerful than this situation, this person, because my ego is healthily used. Okay, so sometimes in regaining your footing and your standing within yourself and the way you look at yourself, you're still doing a lot of healing, but sometimes we haven't found the source. We're just treating the symptoms, even if we're just meditating or manifesting or asking for certain things, eating certain foods, doing certain types of practices to bring peace into our lives. We sometimes tend to forget that we rub shoulders with these narcissists and we haven't cleared. The time might be severed, but the traits and the energetic imprint is still there. You have the traits of this narcissist and they have traits of your empathy, the mirroring effect. So when you have a narcissistic empath, excuse me just a second. When you have a narcissistic empath, they already feel things more deeply. And I'm going to give you a classic example of a narcissistic empath. I encounter, not personally, but in the YouTube environment, in everyday life, friends, co-workers, lovers, past lovers, not lovers, lover, past lovers or partners, whatever you want to call them. I really don't feel like I mean, I'll get into that in another video, what I mean. But anyway, when you see things that aren't there, when you just know because people have let you down in the past and they've mistreated you in the past, that this newer person in your life or the people in your life cannot be trusted, that they are in your sphere to cause harm and mayhem. When now I'm not gonna say that, you know, everybody's partner is perfect and, you know, things like that, but a lot of times a narcissist will create these conditions in their head that they will be done wrong, they will be mistreated, they will be cheated on, they will be lied to, they will be hurt, all while projecting that onto another person, seeking validation. How do you feel about me? What are we? Now, if they're dating you for 3 years and you still haven't been out to dinner in public with them, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who genuinely have already showed their care, concern, their, you know, love, admiration, appreciation for you. And you still ask them, how do you feel about me? Or say things to get a reaction out of them, or to speak critically to in a condescending way, like double talk in order to get a rise or some type of response. Also, you know, when things are good, they're good, and they're not so good, it's the worst. And you start to point out what the person does not do that you'd want them to do. It's a manipulation tactic, it is unhealthy, and it is confusing the fuck out of people. So be mindful of what you're talking about. Be mindful of what you're asking for, not just with this person, with yourself. You're manifesting with your thoughts. This person's lying. This person's cheating. This person didn't answer their phone. They must be up to no good. Let me check their social media. Let me check when's the last time they texted me. Oh, they must be up. You know what I'm saying? Like the ruminating thoughts do send telepathically. When I say that, you know, if you've watched the past videos, you know how connected you are to someone who is close to your heart and your soul, and you can tell when the feeling is mutual. But in the times where a narcissist is starting to feel low self-esteem, they will revert to those tactics of having to have their love proven. They love to hear people say how much they care about them, how much they're useful, how much they're great, how much they appreciate them. And it's when they don't, they start to question their self-worth, as if it didn't resonate but for that moment, for that day, for that, you know, specific point in time, that it isn't constant. But when you or anyone else you know that's a narcissistic empath uses their ability to feel deeply in the wrong sense, they may even pick up on their partner, like, I need some space, or I need a break. I'm not gonna text back right away because I don't know what the fuck to say, or where the fuck did this shit come from? It could spark an argument, or it can cause tension, and you might feel like there's no explanation for it, like this person's pattern, because patterns do tell a lot. But you have to be aware of your pattern first, and a lot of times you're more aware of someone else's, but you have to be just as critical of yourself, not criticizing, but be able to see how you act and react to certain things. What are your triggers? What is specifically the reason why a person would go to those extremes, from happiness to accusatory, from elated to emotional distress, or from, saying, you help me sleep, you bring me peace, you bring me calm, to having insomnia about this person. What is the trigger? You have to pinpoint it, because it's tied to another experience when you first felt that emotional guilt. It's a form of emotional guilt that was passed on to you from someone else who felt that emotional guilt, and they kind of gave you their symptoms and their ailments while you gave them some of your medicine. Now I'm watching a video and she's describing a narcissist. I'm like, damn, that describes a lot of people in my life. But at the same time, it's like, damn, I don't know how many comments I've read. Some people, it's the same person. Sometimes it's the same person on 30 different videos, or someone on social media saying the same things over and over, and talking to, all of their posts are about somebody who just did them utterly wrong. And I'm not saying that people aren't done wrong every day. What I'm saying is their perception of the pain and their perception of the situation could be skewed, for the simple fact that a narcissist isn't going to see they've done anything wrong. They're going to feel like they were sensible and logical and right in the situation. Now, being an empath too means you're going to encounter, if you encounter a narcissistic empath, they're going to admit they're wrong sometimes. Most of the time after the fact, when they it toggles. It's not always constant narcissist. It's not always constant empath. It's a mixture of both. And it's in the times of abandonment, loneliness, guilt, needing, it's in times of vulnerability where a narcissist will be triggered to engage in that manner. Whereas when another person is giving them what they want, the empathy is heightened and more, and it's a real, when they're, it's like the narcissistic tendencies throw off the wavelength of the empathy. So what they're feeling is exaggerated. A small thought can turn into something much bigger, because it will be felt more deeply than it actually is. So, and this goes for crushes too. Narcissistic empaths have crushes. Something simple can mean a whole lot more to them. And then the thoughts that ruminate is that these two people love each other. They can mistake something inconspicuous or mundane as something very special, because it invoked a heartfelt feeling, heartwarming feeling, and it could be magnified. So in turn, the behavior, like, you didn't call me today, or I didn't see you today, where were you, or we went out on one date and you must not like me, or do you like me, or how do you feel about me, or the empathy is magnified and exaggerated. It's kind of warped. It's kind of warped wood. It's not straight. It's not in alignment. It's not viable. You can't really use it for much because it's tainted now. So it's very important to find the triggers, to identify what they are within your own timeline. Like, when did you first feel this feeling? When did you first feel this feeling? Because it could be a leaper, one of those spirits that leap, from one person to the next. If you lived with a narcissist if you have a narcissist man in the household and all the women are in that household, they could potentially have the narcissistic empathy. And women are thinking, okay, well, men, they don't know love, they don't know how to feel, they don't, there's a lot of blame being placed on the masculine when so many of the feminine feel so in tune with each other in that pain, in that narcissistic empathy. They have a lot to talk to each other about. They have a lot to, they're comforting each other. They're telling everybody, telling each other, yeah, he ain't shit and this and that and that. He could have been a good guy. But that narcissistic empathy projected fears, doubts, illusion, exaggerated, ruminating thoughts, things that were not true onto this person. You're cheating. I don't know how many men I've heard, she keeps accusing me of cheating. She keeps accusing me. And now I have the tendency now, and I catch myself, one dude in particular said he had caught himself looking at another woman like, damn. But in the back of his mind, and what came to the forefront was, she keeps accusing me. And I know all I do is go to work and come home and go work and come home and go work and come home. What if I started doing, instead of working all these hours, or instead of trying to constantly prove, what if I did? What would happen then? It would be easy because I know I'm not doing it and I'm still wrong. So if I did wrong, am I wrong? They're very simple. Not to say that that the masculine isn't complex, but it's, you know what? I'm going to give you something to be upset about because you're upsetting me, accusing me of something I know I'm not doing, this, that, and that, and that. Okay? So I'm not excusing any narcissistic behavior coming from men because they have experienced it too. From the first time they encountered probably a narcissist female, a mother, a sister, a grandmother, you won't do what I tell you. I do all this for you and you can't even do something simple, and that's how much you show me your appreciation, that's how much you love me, that's how, and always questioning and wanting the validation. Okay, well, I'm not talking about people who aren't showing actions behind their care and love and compassion and appreciation. I'm not talking about those men. I'm talking about how some of these men got to the way that they are. Their emotional wounding has to do with narcissism. That's why a lot of them are narcissists now. They don't have the level of empathy that we are naturally possessed with. Being yin, being yin, being that negative polarity, being tied to the moon and the emotion and the subconscious and those receptive things. They are more assertive. They project, you know what I mean? So a lot of times empaths have absorbed what a narcissist has put out. And typically, I don't even want to stereotype it and say typically, because it's male or female, but it's a masculine trait because the ego is tied to the masculine. The power, that charisma, that strength, that outward burst of energy is, to me, more masculine. So with us all yielding feminine and masculine qualities and being, hoping to vibrate in duality of those, you can be just as much narcissist as you are empath. Whereas, damn, better go dead. Whereas, say a man might be majority narcissist and have little empathy. So, not to say all, this is not a generalization to say all, but it's just giving a little insight into how you interact with those in your life. Are you constantly trying to seek validation from others as far as what you mean to them, if they're there for you, the loneliness that you experience, or feeling like, you know, people have let you down, and you've done nothing but help them and be there for them. Guilt tripping. You're passing on that feeling of guilt. You're inflicting it, and that's a narcissistic trait. So just be mindful. If you know a narcissistic empath, it's because they have the empathy. They may be able to feel where you're coming from. That is not from a bad place, but a person who's majority narcissist will have less ability to feel you. They will take what they know, or not what they know, what they perceive as fact versus the logic that you're bringing to the table. So tread carefully with that subject. But it was in a self-reflection and a outward, you know, reflection. I mean, outward view. And then to say, okay, if I'm looking at this video and it's talking about a narcissist and I can pinpoint a few of them in my life, how do these traits relate to myself? And that's what brought on this video today. So stay tuned. I don't know, I got some more shit to say. I might upload. It's a little chilly out here though, but I hope y'all have a great Sunday, and I will see you guys soon.